Oh, I guess it's not going to tell me. Hello, we're back with ShameOver. Thank you so much for being here. Today I'm here with Jamey with Manifest Wellness, and I am just so excited about this conversation. We're new connections, and I've already learned a lot, and I just cannot wait to just blow things up in this conversation with you. So, Jamey, would you like to introduce us to the audience and just tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Erica. So I'm Jamey Maniscalco. My company's called Manifest Wellness, and my goal is to help individuals and organizations embrace wellness by making small changes in their day-to-day lives that lead to big wellness transformations. And to give you a little bit of background, I'm a neuroscientist. So I've got my PhD in neuroscience. I studied stress physiology and systems within the brain for a long time and then taught that as well as taught the neuroscience underlying wellness for years as a faculty member at Regis University, which is a undergraduate institution in Denver. And I've recently left that position to go all in on my coaching and consulting business. And really, my goal is to take everything that I've learned and honed as an educator over the years to try to help people find wellness in a way that's approachable and sustainable.
Oh my God, I there's so many things there that I want to dive into, but number one, the fact that the approachableness, because being a essentially the rocket scientist for the brain, like that can be not very approachable for people like me that can be more simple-minded at times. So being able to have you break it down for us, but also just the approachability with these small steps, because that is one thing that I definitely preach is sip size chunks. Like
Yeah.
anything that you can do, the smaller the better. Get the easy wins because that's what creates the momentum. So
Yes.
really what have you seen there that has really been super beneficial, just as far as like even getting started with this whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And Erica, I'm so sorry. Before I jump in with that, the neighbor just started doing some work. I'm gonna shut my door real quick. I love keeping it
Totally
open to
fair.
breeze in, but I don't want the noise here. So sorry about that.
Oh my God, you're fine. I'm
Um,
just waiting for the lawn guys to start mowing over here, so you're
right.
good.
It's always the blessing of working from home, but also the curse, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So when I like to think about, are you thinking wellness from a broad perspective? Is there any area in which you're thinking more specifically?
So, and yeah, I would definitely say just wellness in general because I know a lot of people listening, yes, like drinking specifically, but in my mind, consumption's consumption. And so much of the women who I'm working with, it's overall wellness. They come to me, thinking that it's about the drinking, then they realize day two, it pretty much has nothing to do with the drinking. It's everything else that drinking has just become the solution to everything. So
Yes, 100%. I'm happy to chat more on drinking and my experience and all that. Why don't I tell you about how I start my day?
I
And we
love
can
that.
take it from there. Yeah. So here, when we come back to simple and straightforward, my perspective on this, and it's because I've lived it as a working parent, as someone who loves to be engaged. I don't spend much time sitting around biding my time. I love to be doing things, and that manifests in my career and my family life. But what that results in is I'm busy and I don't have time to do everything that all of the Instagram influencers are doing. Get up and do my cold plunge and then do my 30 minutes of quiet meditation and then get my workout in and then drink my, special smoothie and then go into this. I'm waking up and I've got a little bit of time before my daughter's up. I need to get her ready for school, for camp, whatever it might be. Then I'm out the door, I'm working. We get back, we have evening time, and all of a sudden I'm exhausted by 8 p.m. when she's going to bed. And I feel like I can't do anything at this point that's really meaningful.
Exactly.
Or I still have work to do, or the dishes need to be getting, to be done, or the dogs still need to get, some time outside. So I feel like I'm getting pulled in all directions. And I know from speaking with a lot of other parents, hardworking professionals, and especially moms, when we look at working mothers, the studies show that working mothers, even though you might be working just as much or more than your spouse, are still taking the lion's share of the housework, of the childcare work, of the mental load. And whether that is forced upon you or it's because of
Mhm.
your care for your family and your kids, you are never really relaxing. You are, even if you can take some time and do some sort of relaxing treatment, you're thinking about, okay, what needs to happen next? Have I scheduled camps? Have I gotten this done? What needs to happen? Did we make the Amazon order so that we have more toilet paper next week because we're about to run out? You never really stop.
Yes, you literally just described everything. Like my husband's like, I don't understand why you're so stressed. Like you had two massages, you did this, and I'm like, because it never stops, it never goes away. You just described
Yes.
it.
And so, and here's the crux of it is what I assume you don't want to hear, and what most people don't want to hear is exactly the take 2 hours a day to find your wellness practices, and this has been shown to calm you down.
Uh-huh.
No, Jamie,
Uh-uh.
I have no idea how I'd ever do that. You're ridiculous. You're delusional. I'm glad you can live a life where you can do it, and I don't. So really, where I'm coming from is how can we make some small changes that are really
Yep.
beneficial? And what I've found is starting your day with small changes can lead to a snowball effect where if you start your day on a healthier note, on a more well note, then you are going to carry through with more practices without even thinking about it during your day that
Ooh.
align with the way you start your day. So if you start
Yes.
your day with a, really sugary breakfast and super high levels of stress, and you're cramming any food you have in your mouth just to get something in your mouth before you leave the day, you're more likely to say, screw it. I don't care what I'm eating the rest of the day because I already had Doritos and a Mountain Dew for breakfast or whatever it looked like. But if you can start your day on a healthy note, on a note of wellness with a little bit of time for yourself, then you are more likely to say, well, I already did something good for myself. I'm not going to sacrifice. I'm not going to
Mhm.
backtrack. So what I like to do, and this is something I do within the course of, we'll call it about 5 to 7 minutes at the beginning of my
Okay.
day. So I keep it super short. Otherwise, I don't do it. I don't want to wake up
Got it.
early and do this kind of stuff. So there are three things that I start my day with every day that have been life-changing. So the
Okay.
first, morning gratitudes. Morning
Ooh.
gratitudes, and this sounds maybe a little hippy dippy to some people, but the science here is there that being appreciative and having gratitudes and highlighting them to yourself allows your brain to then see more positive throughout the day. So here, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to see more positive. You are going to seek out more things that are positive. It changes your behavior and your perspective. And what I like to tell people is start with three gratitudes,
Okay.
big or small, but the key to having a good gratitude that's going to put you in a positive mood, that's going to reduce your stress levels, is making them specific. So in this case, what you want to do is you want to have gratitudes that are very specific, that are not, I love my family, I'm so grateful for my family. You can be, and that's wonderful, but that's really broad and it's hard for your brain to really lock into. Instead, say, I love that my daughter says, I love you, mama, every night before she goes to bed. And last night when she said, I love you, mama, and she's laying there in bed, oh, I'm so grateful for that moment. That gratitude is going to benefit you so much more than I love my daughter or I'm so grateful for my daughter. And it doesn't have to be something so foundationally profound. It can be things like, many times I'm so glad that my morning cup of coffee is still hot and I'm drinking
Mm.
hot coffee because I hate lukewarm coffee. What a great thing to be appreciative of. I'm so grateful for that. I live in Colorado, so oftentimes I'm so grateful it's a sunny day. I love sun. I love being outdoors. It puts me in a great mood. And I get to say, I have the privilege of living in a place where most days I get to say, I'm so happy it's sunny out today. I'm so happy that I'm going to get some time with direct sunlight today. That's so much better than I love the weather. But if you can start,
So, well, and that's a great point, and thank you for being specific on that because I know that that's one thing that can be hard, even myself when I've tried this before, is I know all the things I'm grateful for, but sometimes being very specific can be hard, especially first thing in the morning when you're waking up and then, I have two little kids, so there's like, that craziness going on. So I'm assuming that as you're doing this, it becomes a daily practice. It gets easier to get to that point where you can not only take the few minutes to do this, but also being more specific. It's like muscle.
100%. And you're really you're homing in here on a key concept in really changing habits and really changing
Mhm.
who you are, which is this idea of neuroplasticity. which is a nice fancy word that highlights the fact that your brain is moldable. It's not set in stone. It's not, like your house, which you create it and then it stands as it is until you make modifications. Your brain is constantly being shifty and moldy and plastic. And the more you do something, just like the more you strengthen a muscle, the easier
Yeah.
it gets to do. The way I like to conceptualize this is imagining any new behavior that you want to make a habit, like walking through a field of tall grass. The first time you walk through that field, you got to fight through the grass, and it's not easy. And every step of the way, you got to think, keep going, get it done, get it done. But the second time you walk through, the grass is a little bit flattened. And the third time and the fourth time, all of a sudden, you're carving a trail. And this is exactly what's happening in your brain every time you do a new habit or a new behavior. It
Yeah.
becomes more and more habitual and less about effortful intention, where you're like, I'm getting up, I'm doing my gratitudes. By day 50 of this, you just get up and you do your gratitudes, and all of a sudden you're on with your day, and you're like, oh, I did them already. I didn't even realize.
Hmm.
And that's where most people get stuck, is that level where they don't persist long enough to make something a habit, because when it becomes a habit, it becomes much less effortful and almost effortless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, the numbers are kind of all over the place, and I'm sure, it's depending on what you're looking to do, whether it's stop like a really big habit that's been a huge part, like drinking, smoking, anything along those lines, to, probably quicker for smaller things like being, I don't know. Anyway, what is kind of that time frame that you see? Especially, I want to remind people you have a PhD, like you know what you're talking about here. So based on just science, not just well, my opinion,
Yeah.
which is so easy for us to do, but based on science, what do you see as far as those habits? Because especially with who I'm working with, and I'm sure you too, it's like, how long is this going to take? We're very much on that.
100%. Yeah, and there's some pretty eye-opening research on this. And so I anchor all of this in research and then supplement with kind of my experience with my clients, with myself. The research shows that kind of the old wives' tale of a week is way off, way
Yes.
off. Anywhere from, let's call it 3 weeks to a month to closer to a year. Um, and it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on things like your underlying motivation, your consistency is one of the biggest things. So if you are consistent about doing this and you are thoughtful and intentional about doing this, it tends to speed up this habit formation process, um, as well as if you can create an environment that facilitates this. There's a lot of tips and tricks for how to do this. I'm happy to jump into those. But the idea being, the more focused and intentional you are, and the more that you are making the habit intentional and easy to embrace, the
Mm,
easier and quicker it's going to happen. But also, if you have an ingrained kind of opposite habit, if you are a, for example, nightly drinker and you always have a glass of wine with dinner, and your goal is to create a habit in which you're getting, say, better sleep, which includes not drinking alcohol, whatever it might be,
yeah.
you not only have to create this new habit of, I want to have a relaxing chamomile tea every night, you have to get rid of the old habit, which tends to
Yes.
be a lot harder than just
Yeah.
creating a new habit. If you want to start drinking chamomile tea every evening and you don't drink anything but water, it's a lot easier than getting rid of your glass of wine, your beer, your whatever it might be.
Sure.
And so here you've got a more of an uphill battle. And it might sound negative. But really, being realistic and pragmatic about this, like it might take months and months where it's not easy.
Yeah.
People need to know that to start, or else they have rosy expectations. And when those aren't hit, it's defeating. You feel bad. And how do you cope when you feel bad? You go and you drink. So it
Exactly.
actually have the exact opposite effect if you're not prepared for a little bit of a challenge.
Yes, no, I love that. So because of that, and alcohol is one that I know does take longer, but a lot of times, like for me, I've been drinking half of my life, so it's like those are little habits, little that I've practiced a lot over time that now I'm having to practice differently and do differently. And like you said, like adding something new as well as getting rid of the negative, like that's essentially two different things that you're working on. And like having to understand that and give yourself that grace and that compassion while you're in it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And self-compassion is huge, 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 huge. Most people we underestimate the power of our internal monologue. We basically are talking to ourselves as though you're constantly sitting here with a friend all day, but we
Uh-huh.
talk to ourselves like the meanest best friend ever. Um,
Yeah, we would never be our own best friend based on how we treat ourselves. Yes.
exactly. And so here, what I often do to get around this, because it's really difficult to not speak meanly to yourself. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, of course you drank again because you're such a failure, you can't do anything, whatever it might be. I often intentionally ask myself the question, what would, and I have a specific best friend I think about, what would my best friend say about this in this situation? If I were to have my best friend sitting here, they know my goal is to not drink as much. They saw me open the beer and drink it and open a second one because it's been a long day or whatever it might be. What would they say to me? Would they say, "You're a failure, you're an idiot, how do you have no willpower?" No.
No.
They would say, "We're all human. It's been a long day. You crushed it at work. You were a great parent to your kids. Yeah, you didn't follow through on this thing you wanted to do. Why don't you try again tomorrow?" But you're not a bad person because of that. And here,
Exactly.
hearing somebody else say that to me and thinking that has been so helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a few other things, in addition to the self-compassion, there's a few other
Yeah.
things that come to mind that have helped me. Um, but with alcohol, but also that I've seen help clients that are backed by the psychology literature in particular, in terms of what are some practical ways? Let's say you want to maybe not stop drinking altogether, but stop drinking on weekdays, right? So in the
Right.
summer, really, really hard. A lot of people love going out, right? You want to have, it's nice out. You're sitting on the deck, you're sitting on the front porch, the patio, you're taking a walk, you're outside, you want to have that drink. You've been conditioned to do it, you've been doing it half your life. So how can we think about ways? And a lot of it comes down to, most of us are at home most weeknights. So you
Mm-hmm.
could think through how can you craft your environment to make it easy to not drink? So you might not be comfortable getting all the alcohol out of your house right away. That would be one step is let me get rid of all the alcohol in my house. Or once I finish drinking what I have, I'm not buying anymore. If I want to
Yep.
drink, I'll have a drink when we're out for dinner or at a friend's
Mhm.
house. That's going to be self-limiting to start. Or if you're like, I gotta have, I'm not ready for that step. I get it. Not everyone's ready for that. Putting it in the basement behind a locked door, for example. It's still there. You
I
can
call
have
that child proofing.
Yes.
Yep.
Here we go.
Mhm.
Childproofing, I think of it as I call it adding friction, making it more
Yeah.
friction to get to what you want in
Yeah.
that. Um, and then trying to make it less friction to do the intended behavior. You want to drink your
Yep.
chamomile tea, you want to drink a sparkling water, have those right there in your kitchen. So thinking about that,
Yep.
thinking about how cravings tend to work. Cravings are often short-lived but powerful. So here,
Mhm.
what I did, and I've done for certain behaviors early on, is I have a craving to drink right now. I really want to pour a glass of wine. Okay, I'm not going to say no, but what I'm going to say is I'm going to set a timer on my phone for 15 minutes, and I will make that
Okay.
drink 15 minutes if I still feel like it. And most of the time, the craving passes. I don't want the drink as strongly or at all in 15
Sure.
minutes. And in the meantime, that gives me 15 minutes to maybe make that cup of tea, have that sparkling water, transition into post dinner as opposed to during dinner. And I don't really care about a glass of wine post dinner. I just wanted it with dinner. So it gives you this opportunity.
So, on that note, what have you
Yeah.
found, again, from the research scientific standpoint, as far as how long do urges last? Because I've heard, typically that 90-second, and I'm sure certain urges, like, again, with drinking, with cigarettes, can be very impossible to quit. From what I've seen, I've never been a smoker, so can't speak to it myself, but are some urges, do they live longer than others? And is it true that you kind of do just stay on the loop once you're in it if you surpass that time?
Yeah, I couldn't put a specific time to the urge
Sure.
broadly, but that order of magnitude that you're referring to, that 90 seconds, a couple of minutes, is
Hmm.
absolutely what tends to happen. And most of us feel it so strongly that it feels like it's not going to go away. So we
Exactly.
need to just, okay, I'm just going to act on it now. I need to have a drink. I just got to have a drink. And then you start rationalizing. Well, I deserve it. Well, I know I was going for this, but I'll start tomorrow. It's been a long day and I don't need to be, I don't want to. And so here, what I find is recognizing, first of all, recognizing, wow, I'm having a really strong urge. Most of us
Hmm.
think that thought. We think, I just need this. I just need this. I just want this. It's going to make me feel good. I need to calm down. It's making me anxious. If I have it, I won't be anxious. But stopping and recognizing what's happening to me. I'm having an urge, not because I'm a bad person, not because I'm
Hmm.
failing. because alcohol has created a habit loop in me. And if I can get over this, the science says that I won't feel as strongly about this in 10 minutes, in 5 minutes even. So
Yeah.
here, I'm having an urge. Let me recognize what it is. Let me see if I can get past it. Having the self-compassion to say, oh, I get it. It's hard. You've been doing this most of your life. This is societally accepted. Um, you
Mhm.
know, we can't go, blow a line of cocaine at a dinner table. Um, you can have 6 beers during the course of dinner or get after wine, and everyone's like, oh, you had a big night. Like, good for you, letting loose. That makes it even harder because it's
Yep.
socially accepted and socially
Well, and it reinforces it that
yes,
it's what we should be doing or it's okay. But then when we do, then we just feel like shit about ourselves and it perpetuates that cycle.
exactly. And so if you can get through that and recognize what's happening, that's huge. And what I've found is a lot of times this is willpower won't do it. So if you're sitting there
Mm-mm.
next to that half open bottle, that bottle of wine that's half drank, that's open, and you're like, I'm just going to sit here and grind my teeth until I get through 10 minutes, you're probably not setting yourself up for success. But if you're like, I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes and go hang out with my kids. Or I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to take the dogs on a quick walk, get them to go to the bathroom one more time before the evening winds down, whatever it might be. By
Mhm.
actively engaging in something else, you're not sitting there with this thought loop of, I want to drink, but I shouldn't. I want to drink, but I shouldn't.
Exactly.
So here you're transitioning into focusing on something else, focusing your attention, letting that craving pass. And when you come back from the dog walk or playing with your kids, you might still have feelings, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But for most people, at least with repeated kind of a repeated approach to this, you'll find most of the times the craving passes to a large extent.
Exactly. I One of my biggest practices in ShameOver is to fill your emotional cup before you fill your physical one.
Oh,
So
I
during
love
that
that.
time, we're having the urges, we're whatever. Before you ever have the drink, if you want to rewire your brain, do something that fills your emotional cup first,
Yeah.
because otherwise, every time you have this feeling, whether it's good or bad, and you drink, next time you have that feeling, alcohol solves it. So the only way to stop that correlation with each other is by doing something else. And by filling your emotional cup, you're doing something obviously not alcohol specific,
Yeah.
but you're actually filling what you are likely drinking for. You're doing something that you need instead of just something that you want that is going to numb those feelings.
100%. And I love that approach. And I love how easy it is to conceptualize that
Mm-hmm.
approach, where it's the why. Why am I drinking? What am I looking for right now? And I think the challenge that a lot of people will probably still run into is if you've been drinking, even not major amounts, maybe you're not going out and drinking 14 drinks in a night and blacking out and being super hungover. You're just having a couple. So you're a responsible adult
Yeah.
drinker. That's what we see. Your brain is still conditioned to have that alcohol on board. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens is your brain gets used to having the alcohol on board. And so here, if you all of a sudden don't for a period of time, even if you're filling your emotional cup, that's really going to help. You are still likely to feel the withdrawal effects of not having alcohol, pretty much no matter what.
Sure.
If you've been drinking consistently and for a long time, your brain's used to this. There is nothing we can do to combat the fact that you're going to feel withdrawal effects of alcohol. And the challenge that people get into, especially in addictive cycles, is the only thing that can get you out of the negative, we call it like dysphoria, feeling negative, as opposed to euphoria, great feelings, dysphoria,
Sure.
negative feelings.
Yeah.
The only way to get out of the dysphoria of alcohol withdrawal is to drink. Um, Otherwise, what you have to do is you just have to deal with it. And I think here,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Which is
people
why most people drink so that they don't have to deal. So
exactly.
what do you suggest there?
Yes. Honestly, I suggest being prepared that this is not going to magically go away,
Yeah.
that it's going to be difficult for most people. But I love the idea of what are some tools like fill your emotional cup before you fill your physical cup. But then I
Mm-hmm.
also think stopping and reminding yourself of meaning and purpose. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Because here, if we don't understand why we're doing hard things, we tend to give up on them pretty easily. Anything. If you're trying to climb a mountain, if you're trying to learn French, it's like, oh, this was fun, but now it got hard. I don't want to do it anymore. But if you want to learn French because you really want to be fluent in your new spouse's language so you can impress her parents or whatever it might be. Now you care to persist through adversity. So if you're sitting here thinking, okay, it's really hard. I don't feel good right now, but I'm not
Mhm.
drinking because what I found is I'm a worse parent when I drink, and I'm not as nice to my children, and I'm not as patient. So here, by not drinking right now, I am actively working towards being a better parent, and that's really important to me. You can deal with not feeling good. We do that most of the time as parents, right? Most of the time, parenting doesn't feel good,
Amen.
right? But here, if you can tie it to meaning and purpose and your values and saying, this is important to me and remind yourself why. You're going to be much more willing to deal with periods of a couple of hours that you really don't feel good because you're used to having an evening drink. The other thing can be finding ways to actually lean in to the discomfort. So
Uh-huh.
there's some really interesting stuff. There's a really cool book by Michael Easter called The Comfort Crisis. It's he actually, I think, coincidentally for our conversation, is either an alcoholic or has a lot of alcoholism in his family. So he talks a
Okay.
lot in this book about him overcoming habitual drinking. But really,
Mhm.
the premise of his book is we live in a world in which we're able to very easily escape discomfort, whether it's air conditioning and heating, whether it is grabbing our cell phone when we don't want to be thinking a negative thought as opposed to sitting with that thought. We're in a world of
Mhm.
instant gratification, and it's not making us happier. So there's a lot of literature and science showing that being uncomfortable makes us happier. Whether it's physical discomfort, like taking a cold bath or something like that, or doing a really hard hike or a really hard workout, or the discomfort of having difficult conversations that are
Yeah.
meaningful and important. These things tend to make us happier. And so stopping and saying, I'm really uncomfortable right now, good. I should be really uncomfortable right now. I shouldn't have my days be full of comfort. Let this be uncomfortable for me and let me figure out how to become resilient to this discomfort so that the next time I'm in a high stress work environment, I'm not reaching for a drink. I am resilient and I can cope. It doesn't go 0 to 60. You're in a really high
Yeah.
stress environment. All of a sudden, you figured it out. I don't need this anymore. It starts with baby
Yeah.
steps. I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Normally, I'd grab a drink. Let me not. I'm feeling really uncomfortable. Let me grab a drink. Maybe not. Here, that builds your resilience. And when you pair that with your meaning and purpose, you have a really strong mental reason to not drink. And then the third reason I like to suggest to people is remembering what this is doing for you physically. And I'm not completely sober or abstinent from alcohol. I was for a period of time, but
Me neither, don't worry.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all good. But here, what we see is alcohol is pretty damaging to your brain over time. And we see longitudinal studies looking and showing that chronic alcohol use to a degree that's surprisingly small, averaging a couple drinks a night, or,
Okay.
not as much, but a few big nights a week, whatever it might be, but having on the order of like 8 to 14 drinks a week, these kinds of things, even
Okay.
less if you're female, biologically,
Sure.
those have been shown to increase the likelihood that you're going to have brain shrinkage over time. So as you age, you're more likely to struggle with cognition and memory and things like that. We see that alcohol disrupts sleep. Even one drink disrupts sleep. Even the earlier, the better. Like if you have a noon drink on a holiday or 4th of July,
Yeah.
that's better than an 8 p.m. drink because you can metabolize it faster. But even one drink in a day disrupts your sleep cycle. And if you're doing this every single day of your adult life, what we don't realize is we're disrupting our sleep every single night. And that has all of these cascading effects on memory, on mood, on resilience to all sorts of things, on disease prevention. And here, it's not necessarily that alcohol is causing X disease. It's that your consumption of alcohol prevents you from sleeping well. And because you don't sleep well, you're more likely to have this.
Exactly. And I think that was one of the biggest like ahas for me because I didn't think, unless I was just completely schmammered, I didn't think that it really impacted my sleep.
Yeah.
Um, I took a year off, and that was mainly because I got pregnant, and I got pregnant well, we know the date I got pregnant. Tony shared that, but I found out I was pregnant on New Year's Eve. FYI, don't take a pregnancy test on New Year's Eve. Dumb idea. Because I'm just like, well, there goes our plans for tonight. So anyway, I just decided I'm like, well, I'm already gonna not be drinking till baby's here, so why don't I just do the entire calendar year and see?
Yeah.
And before that, I was already, I was doing ShameOver, so I was drinking a lot less and, had a much better relationship than I had previously. But it was during that time off that, I mean, my mindset was just so different than the first time. And more than anything, coming back to it, I realized that even a tiny amount did impact my sleep, which again, did not think that that was the case. And I used to wear a Whoop. The
Yeah.
Whoop could tell me if I had drank the night before or not. Like before anything else, it was just like it was insane. So, and now it's like a half a glass of wine. I will wake up at 3 a.m. just like what? Which before it would take a lot more than that, or at least I thought. So it's amazing to hear. And just what I love most about what you said is it's not necessarily the alcohol, it's the not sleeping that leads to all these other things. Because we've been able to blame, since all this research has come out, yes, we've already known for years and years and years, alcohol's not great for you, but it's, as you mentioned, very socially acceptable. But now that
Mhm.
people are learning more about it, I feel like it's almost becoming the new cigarettes where people who don't drink can be very judgy when people do still want to drink. But, I really want to point out that it's, yes, alcohol is not great for us. We know that, but it is the things that also happen to our body when we're drinking that it's not blaming just alcohol.
Yeah.
If you don't have the good sleep hygiene, you're going to be dealing with a lot of these same issues. If, you're on social media all day, every day, like the stress, all of these things. So it's collectively how you're handling your mind, your body, your brain, your everything.
100%. And I think for your listeners and the people out there who are like, that's all well and good, and I knew it, but like it's not realistic to completely go abstinent from alcohol, or I don't want to. Like I want to be able to drink. That's a place in my life where I'm like, if I want to have a nice glass of wine, but I know the bottle's a great one and it's a good dinner and
Mm-hmm.
it pairs well with the fish or the meat or whatever it might be.
Sure.
I don't want to feel like I'm controlled by alcohol in the opposite direction, where I'm scared of it. Because at least for me,
That.
right? At least, oh, sorry about that. At least for me, I don't have alcoholism. That's a whole different story, but I don't want to be drinking regularly. So think about what can we do practically, and how can we approach this from a way that is much more balanced for a lot of people. And what I say is
Yes.
about alcohol is how can I intentionally drink versus habitually drink? So here, what I found for myself was that I was habitually drinking many nights a week,
Mhm.
pretty consistently for years. Um,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, well, I'm just having a little bit of bourbon as I finish up my work at 8 o'clock after my daughter's in bed, or it's a summer night. I'm absolutely going to have a beer or whatever it might look like. And
Mhm.
here, what I've found is that became habitual and I wasn't getting pleasure out of that drink. The drink wasn't doing something for me. I didn't know why I was drinking. It was just I do this every single night. And so what I ended up finding was, okay, how can I think about not drinking when I don't know why I'm drinking and drink for purpose? Okay. So here, every time I'm thinking about drinking, and it's not judgy, which is really, it's hard. It took some time, but I stopped and I thought, why? Why am I drinking right now? And I do this still now. Why
Mhm.
am I drinking? And if I'm saying, well, I really love the taste, I know I love the taste of this Nebbiolo from Italy or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great and it's going to pair well with the pizza we're having or whatever it might be. Okay, I've got a reason that might be justifiable. But if many times I stop and say, why am I drinking right now? Or why am I grabbing for a drink? And well, it's the evening and it's been a stressful day.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm trying to drink for stress relief. Um,
Yep.
is this the best way I should do that? And it's one of the more rewarding ways to do it. But
Sure.
oftentimes, replace that with something that is also very rewarding. All right, if I don't have this beer, if I don't have this glass of wine, I'm going to have a scoop of ice cream instead. Or I'm going to make myself a dessert and not feel guilty at all about having a super sugary dessert or watching television for half an hour or whatever it might be when I really should be working or doing chore, whatever it might be. I'm going to do something that's still kind of a guilty pleasure that's not alcohol, but it's going to still allow me to get my sleep, that's still going to allow me to be more balanced, that's not going to be as detrimental. And then it's not going to reinforce that pattern of behavior.
Exactly. Yeah. My thing is, besides the drink on purpose, which I love that, I don't drink for negative emotions. So if I
Yes.
know that it isn't all negative, in that boredom can be a negative, that could be a negative emotion, depending on how you see it. Not that I ever get bored these days. I would love to be bored, but any negative emotion, I'm like, nope, not happening. But
Yeah.
again, that goes back to the rewiring that I don't want when I feel a negative emotion to be like, oh, okay, glass of wine will solve it. Because that's what I had done for a good portion of my, adult life, pretty much college through early 30s.
Yeah. And this is one of the other reason, kind of getting to this, that it's a really difficult to change behavior around alcohol is not only it tends to be super ingrained for those of us who've recognized we don't want to be doing it anymore. Usually it's not when you're 22 and you've only been drinking for a few years or whatever. It's, you've been doing this
Exactly.
for a decade or more. So it's a really long-standing behavior. But the other thing is alcohol is inherently rewarding. Whether you're drinking for whatever reason or in any context, alcohol activates dopamine systems in the brain. And these are the same dopamine systems you get from illicit drugs. They're the same dopamine systems you get from really tasty food, from sex, from gambling. All these things that you can become addicted to, you can become addicted to because they activate this dopamine reward pathway in the brain. And so here, what you have is a way to quickly get a reward that's consistently going to be rewarding. It's the same thing with social
Yes.
media. And that's the hardest type of habit to break, is something that is really immediately gratifying. So you're postponing an immediate stress relief and gratification, even if it's not actually working, which it really doesn't. It feels like it is. Um, you're trying to stop that immediate feel-good feeling for a long term. I want to be healthier. I want to age well. It's the hardest type of habit to break. And so here, putting that out there that the biology sits with all of you who are out there, like I've tried tons of times, I keep going back. I'm really struggling. I don't know if this is worth my time. I really don't like doing this. Yes, 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 yes. It's really hard. And that's why you're probably going to have to put more effort into it. You're probably going to have more failed attempts. And that's okay. It's not your fault. It's the nature of how the brain works.
And alcohol doing its job.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, what are, and I know we've kind of touched on some of them, but to reiterate, I guess, what are some of the things, knowing that alcohol specific, it can be so hard to break that cycle because alcohol or other substances can be so rewarding? What would you recommend, even as far as like, the first things to try or do in those moments outside of knowing it's going to take time, it's going to take resilience, you're going to have setbacks, it's a process.
100%. I think honestly, if I were to suggest to someone the first things you should be doing is restructure your environment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because willpower will only take you so far.
Yeah.
If you are, living in a house that has a full bar and everything and all, the fridge is full of beer and the wine is on the counter, all of this, you're setting yourself up to struggle and likely to fail at the goal, or to
Yep.
not achieve the goal. Here, if you can restructure your environment, and think about, can we get most of the alcohol out of the house or in this other place, that's hidden away, or thinking about ways in which you're like, okay, when I'm out at a party, and I did this when I wasn't drinking because there's a lot of social stigma still. I think it's much more accepted to not drink, but there's still people who are like, come on, drink with me.
Yeah.
A lot of times people feel self-conscious about drinking in front of someone they know is staying sober because they're going to loosen up and disinhibit, say stupid stuff, and you're going to remember it as a sober person and not the fun drunk friend, right? So
Uh-huh.
whether it's good for you or not, your friends might be like, come on, just have a couple with me. Like, let's go party, whatever it might be. Or let's loosen up. Like, we're at the pool with the kids. Like, have some white wine with me, whatever it might be. Here, what I found is the athletic brews I've really liked. And crack one of those, pour it into a glass. No one knows what I'm drinking. It looks like beer. So there's that kind of approach. Plus, it also gives me the taste of it.
Hmm.
What I found was early on when I stopped drinking, I craved the taste, and I would have one athletic brew, and then I was good. I
Yep.
wasn't inebriated. I just needed that one little taste, and then I was like, I'd often start a second and not be able to get through it. Um,
Yeah.
and so here I was like, okay, I got what I needed, just a little bit of taste because my brain associated the taste of hops or whatever it was with relaxation.
Hmm.
I have this, I relax, but I'm not inebriated. The other thing is I liked to talk about it. And I tried to bring it up in a way that was not super judgmental, that people I was with felt like I was
Sure.
judging them for drinking, but
Yep.
saying, I'm just taking a break for now. I'm trying to get better sleep. and this has really helped me get better sleep. I really wasn't sleeping well, and not bringing morals into it was really helpful to me.
Exactly. Yes.
So here,
No,
and
that,
whether it was moral or not, whether it is moral or not,
yeah.
people feel much more comfortable with it. Oh yeah, I should be getting better sleep too. Like I'm still going to drink, but like I totally get how you improve your sleep.
Totally. Well, and I'm so glad that you have also found some great, I call them bee free, but booze free beverages because
Mhm.
athletic, I was never a big beer person. Athletic got me to be one because they have so many good ones. If you do like beer, I don't, if depending on the kind of beer, but Blue Moon Zero is so good.
Oh,
If you've not tried it, it tastes like a
dang.
fresh squeezed orange was in there. So highly
Really?
recommend. But booze free beverages for me was a game changer, especially early on. Because I would use them, especially to alternate. So, like, my rule was like, okay, you can have the wine, but after you have two glasses, then at least have a booze free one.
Yeah.
And, then I started alternating more.
Yeah.
But starting with a booze free beverage, 99% of the time, it was all I need because just having the glass in my hand was a big part of it. The act of drinking, and what I've definitely found with myself and so many of my clients, because I work with a lot of not only women, but moms in particular, that
Hmm.
glass of wine or that cocktail is the first moment that she's made for herself all day. So it's
Yeah.
like by not drinking, you are just throwing that ritual out the window and adding in more of all those negative feelings because you're never giving yourself a break. This has become a break.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, do what feels best for you, but do not overlook booze free beverages because just the act of having the drink is going to a lot of times scratch the itch that you are turning to alcohol for, even though, yes, sometimes you want alcohol to do more than just scratch the itch. But if you're wanting to drink less, if you're wanting to have a better relationship, these can be so transformational.
Yes. And when we think of the conditioning, like it's called classical conditioning, like Pavlov's dog kind of thing,
Yes.
happens with alcohol and relaxation. You're not just conditioned to that alcohol relaxes you. All the cues associated with alcohol, seeing the can of beer, seeing the cocktail, hearing the
Mm-hmm.
as it opens up,
Yes.
having the taste, the ritual of it, the stopping, like you're saying, and having my moment to stop and prepare something that's just for me. It's not for my kids. It's not for my husband. It's not for my boss. It's just for me. The alcohol doesn't need to be part of it to get all those cues. And so
Yes.
all the science backs up exactly what you are suggesting, that you're getting all of the cues of relaxation. You're transitioning from workday or mom time to me
Mm-hmm.
time, or from work
Yeah.
time to family time. You're getting
Sure.
that transition with this mocktail. You're getting this transition with this non-alcoholic beer. You don't have to have the alcohol in it to get the transition.
Mhm.
And what I
Yes.
found personally was, again, like you were saying, it was really helpful early on to have the mocktails, to have the non-alcoholic beer. But then some really cool science here is your taste buds turn over about every 2 weeks. So it takes about 2 weeks for your taste buds to turn over, which is why if you're eating a whole bunch of junk food and you want to eat
Yeah.
healthier, it's going to suck for a little while. But here, what I found was after a period of time, it was probably longer than 2 weeks, but I didn't really assess it. I lost my taste for beer. I used to love having a beer, loved beer. It was great.
That was me and wine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just fun. And what you find is it's cool because you don't need to be going through that willpower anymore. Literally, your taste buds will change so that I went for the first time I stopped drinking. I think it was about 5 or 6 months where I stopped and I just stayed completely sober, no alcohol. And then it was Christmas time. And we opened up this really nice bottle of red wine on Christmas to go with our ravioli and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm feeling really good, but also like I love that type of wine. I've loved it historically. I've always thought it paired well with this type of hearty meal. It's Christmas. I'm having a glass of wine with dinner. Absolutely. Don't need to be sober forever. And also I think I needed to be like, I can't be perfect because if I have a streak for too long, I get locked into feeling the perfectionism of having the streak.
Yes.
Right. So here I was like, I'm gonna have this glass. I drank it and I thought, oh, it's pretty alcohol-y. Like the flavor I remembered wasn't the same flavor. And I think a lot of it comes back to my taste buds had changed. And also my brain kind of got nostalgic about wine, where I remembered all the stuff I loved and didn't remember. Like I'm like, oh, this is kind of alcohol. It kind of takes away from the ravioli, actually. It's not complementing the meal. And I didn't finish the glass.
That is insane. And that makes a lot more sense. I never knew about the taste bud thing because I have had the same experience with wine to where I mean, I could drink any kind of wine, but I was especially red wine.
Yeah.
Now, most of them don't even taste good to me. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, on one note, it's kind of sad and depressing because you're like, I used to love this.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, it's just not agreeing with me. But a part of that is also, I feel like me being a lot more mindful and actually really trying to savor it and ask myself, like, am I enjoying this? Because before I would drink it whether I was enjoying it or not.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't love it, I am not going to drink it, let alone finish it.
Yes. And I feel like we've been conditioned to feel like leaving a wounded soldier or a half-empty glass
Exactly. Yeah.
is, like this blasphemy, this, social blasphemy. Like, oh my gosh, you ordered that nice glass of wine, you're leaving half of it. But if you don't finish your steak or you don't finish your fish, people aren't giving you that same kind of judgment. I think we've come to overvalue alcohol. And
Yeah.
we see it as something that is precious. And it's like, don't waste it. That's a nice bottle of wine. But if you're not finishing that nice dinner or those really nicely cooked vegetables, rarely do we have that same gut feeling of, oh, you've got to finish it. Rarely are we shoveling really nice broccoli into our mouth as we're leaving the restaurant, like, but slamming the rest of the drink on your way out is,
That
yeah,
is such a great point.
right.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it's this mental, like getting over, like, okay, I've got a half glass that's sitting in front of me. Why do I want to drink the last half? Yeah, I don't like wasting any more than anybody else. But if I
No.
drink that last half, I'm probably going to sleep even worse, probably going to be even more hungover. And I've gotten to the point where I've found the reward in feeling good waking up. Um, and for
And I
me,
think that that's a big part, playing it forward and actually remembering back to your intentionality, but like the bigger why, like what matters more? Do you want to enjoy that right now? And like, is that going to be what is best for you in the moment? Yes, maybe.
yeah,
But what about tomorrow? What's the bigger picture? And for some of us, yeah, it might be, I do want to finish this and that's
yeah,
okay, but it's
yeah.
being intentional.
Exactly. We're off to the concert and we're finishing drinks at dinner and I want to feel a little loose for the concert. Boom, let me finish this up. It's going to be 4 hours anyway till I'm going to bed. I'll have time to metabolize it. But it's
Yeah.
11 p.m. You're leaving the party. You're going to go to bed in 20 minutes. Why are you drinking more? Like, is that benefiting you? And I think a lot of us don't think about it. And then
Yep.
kind of when you think about the consequences, and here I don't want to demonize it too much, although I think it
Sure.
deserves some. Um, it, similar to sleep, it tends to lead to poorer other wellness choices. When you're out and drinking, you tend to eat more food later in the evening, which is again not good for your sleep, not good for your digestive system, your metabolic health. You tend to be more dehydrated, which again, not good for your brain, not good for your body. The next day, you're less likely to be active. So again, when you see alcohol tends to feed into all these other avenues of it's not just the alcohol per se. It's not
Yeah.
getting you to sleep. You're making poorer food choices. You're making poorer behavioral choices. You're taking more risks in terms of the things you do. Maybe you jump off of this thing onto that seems funny at the time, but you're actually risking twisting an ankle or breaking a leg or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Many of us have had those moments where you're like, oh, I hurt myself. And we don't bounce as we get older. But then you're not
Uh-huh.
as well the next day. You're not exercising as much the next day. I mean, these days, a hangover for me can be 2 days. And all of a
Oh,
sudden,
absolutely. Well, and
yeah,
I know for me, it's I'll eat, like you said, that night just to make sure I'm feeling better the next day, which that was a dumb thing I made up in college that would help. And then, the next day, what are you having? You're not having like cereal for breakfast. You're probably having like a bagel or pancakes or, that breakfast burrito or like, something big and hearty and that
uh,
again, have it, but like what's the reasoning behind it?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And we get stuck in these cycles and the challenge of society normalizes it. That, I'm firmly believe do what you want to do. Go out and have those days. Those are great. But in my perspective, they've become much more, I do that every single weekend night and less, oh, every once in a while when there's a good occasion and the stars align and everyone's staying here at this like, resort for a vacation. Then, oh, we all stayed up till 3 a.m. drinking, and oh my gosh, I haven't done that in a year, and that was so much fun, and I feel like crap today. when we turn that into every Friday night or every Friday and Saturday, I think, and then it gets fueled by social media, this need to show we had the best night at every opportunity.
Yep.
Most nights should be kind of boring. Like
Yeah.
most nights should be pretty relaxed, especially if you want to feel good for your kids the next day, especially if you want to feel good to get out and take a run the next day. But I think we live in a world that promotes, I went to the club every night, I went and had this crazy night out every night, and we think that's what it means to live. And we lose track of how do we actually feel about what do I want? I'm living for Instagram now. I'm living for how other people see me. Oh, Jamey parties all the time, but he's still in great shape.
Yeah.
Like it's a show. And here, I don't want to live for the show. I want to live for what feels good. And a morning cup of coffee with a clear head, I'd take that over going out any night.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of morning, and I want to be respectful of your time, but speaking of mornings, I know you said you start out with gratitude. Is there
Yes,
anything else that you do outside of your coffee? Because I'm very much. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. Is it true that because I believe this had to do with brain science, but I could be wrong, that waiting at least an hour after you wake up is best for having that cup of coffee or tea or what I guess the caffeine boost.
absolutely. So here to address the second question
Yeah.
first, there it's a little bit conflicted in the literature. In
Okay.
terms of people do disagree. Scientists who study this do disagree, but a lot of them do believe that waiting 60 to 90 minutes after waking up allows for two things to happen. The caffeine acts on a what's called adenosine receptor. So adenosine is a chemical your brain naturally makes. To make you tired over the course of the day. And so
Okay.
here you're accumulating this kind of like you should be more tired. You've been up for 5 hours. You should be more tired. You've been up for 10 hours chemical. Um, and the way that caffeine is stimulating is it blocks that chemical from signaling. So all of your tired signals are getting blocked by caffeine.
Okay.
What we see is that those, and for most of us, we're not getting enough sleep. So we're not fully clearing out this adenosine chemical every night. So we're waking up a little bit tired, not fully refreshed. Um, but there is evidence that these adenosine receptors in the brain become more sensitive if you wait longer. So the caffeine, the coffee has more of an effect, a stronger effect if you wait longer than if you have it immediately.
Okay.
The second thing is your cortisol levels. So your stress hormone levels spike in the morning. And this is a natural way that your body wakes up. Cortisol, we think of as stress, fight, or flight. We need some stress and some fight or flight. That's what gets us out of bed. That's what gets us
Okay.
moving, what gets the kids' lunch packed, all of these things. So here, if you layer on caffeine and cortisol, it can boost and make you more agitated and jittery while not having that caffeine allows your cortisol pulse that happens as you wake up, it allows it to give you the energy. And then as it starts to wane, caffeine can then kind of bring it back up.
Okay.
The third thing that's personal for me, and I don't always do this, so I do try to wait many mornings, but oftentimes I don't. It's kind of cycle of life, you know.
Sure.
But the third thing is coming back to this being in discomfort, realizing I don't need my first cup of coffee as much as I think I do. Yeah, do I have a little bit of a headache? Yeah, am I slightly irritable? Absolutely. Can I push through that and still be a really good dad? Can I push through that? What am I doing for the first hour and a half of my day? Normally, it's getting my daughter's lunch ready, it's getting packed and ready for school, it's brushing my teeth. I don't need to be my perfect, most alert self for that. I really want this later when I need to be focusing on work that is not energizing because I'm not moving around because it's sitting staring at a computer screen. That's when I need the stimulation. If I'm making lunches and moving around, that's waking me up anyway. I like to think of it as that kind of threefold benefit to holding off.
Okay.
And then instead, what I'm doing is I get up and before my daughter's up, I try to get in my morning gratitudes, three gratitudes, 2 minutes or less for me that
Okay.
are specific, things that I appreciate. Often it's 30 seconds or less.
Do you just say it to yourself? Do you write it down? Do you say it out loud? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it is a mix. It is better to do the things that most people don't do, which is say it out loud and or write it down. It makes it more real, it makes it more concrete, and it engages more sensory systems. You're not just thinking it, you're saying it. So it's motor systems. You're hearing it because you're saying it. It's auditory systems. And then your brain is processing what it's hearing you say, so it's getting in more depth about what you're thinking. The best
Okay.
thing to do would be to write them and then to say them. And that's going to stick longest. But busy day, I still try to do them, even if I can't do it perfect. The second thing I do is intention setting. Again, three things. What are my biggest goals for today? Before I check my email, before I look at social media, anything like that, what is important for me to get done today? Because I tend to get pulled in all sorts of directions. So I tend to get
Yes.
pulled towards, oh my gosh, this email came in. This is the most important thing. Well, is it for me or is it for them, the most important thing? Does it seem important or is it just marked urgent? I tend to lose track. And so here, if I've identified my three biggest goals throughout the day, I tend to plan my day better. I check my email a little bit less. I do fewer of these tasks that seem kind of great to take care of, but aren't really meaningful. They're shallow, but it feels good to tick them off the list and focus
Sure.
on the work that's meaningful. But I don't do that well unless I've told myself, here are the three things I want to get done today. So I do my gratitudes, my intention setting, and then I finish with my affirmations and resources. So here I tell myself, you've got the capability to do what you're planning to do. You are smart enough, you are capable enough, you've got the time, and here are the resources you have at your disposal. You've got everything you need. You've got your computer. You've got 3 hours this morning. You've got the ability to search on Google and ChatGPT or whatever it might be. You've got this person you work with who knows some of these answers and you've got a meeting scheduled. I have the resources because a big difference between having a stress response that's detrimental, oh my gosh, it's too much for me, anxiety, 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 I can't do this, and a stress response that is positive and like courageous, I can do this and it's going to be hard, but I've got it. The difference often comes down to resources. If you look at a challenge and you don't have the resources perceptually to meet it, negative
Yep.
stress response. If you have a challenge and you have the resources to meet it, positive stress response. So here I like to start my day by telling myself, I can do this, and here's why.
I absolutely love that. And it made me think of one of the like basic things that I tell anyone that's starting this journey, especially, is plan and prepare when it comes to drinking or whatever you're doing. But what most people fail to do is the preparation, which is the resources part. Because you can plan like, oh, we're going out to dinner tonight, so I'll have 2 drinks. But then I get there and I never looked at the menu, didn't know that it was only bottomless tonight or whatever, like
Yeah.
all of those things can come in. Where if I either say exactly what I'm going to do and then bring my own booze-free beverages, or I look at the menu ahead of time to be like, here's my plan, this is how I'm going to prepare. You're actually going that step further, and that totally makes sense just based on what you said with the affirmations, but also providing the resources or proving to yourself that you have them because it takes you from the reactive to the proactive.
Yes, I love that. And I love that approach for you, the planning approach. I often talk to clients about this as the if-then plan. If this happens, or if I want this. So in this case, if I'm feeling the urge to get a drink with dinner and I really don't want to, then I will order a sparkling water instead of this. And what I found is I love ordering San Pellegrino. I always thought it was a waste of money before. Like I'm gonna have tap water. Like why would I pay for water? But I'm ordering a
Yeah,
$10 cocktail,
exactly.
right? Now I'm like, well, I'm not getting any cocktails. My wife's getting a nice $15 glass of wine with this dinner. I'm getting a bottle of San Pellegrino. It's sparkly. I just put a little bit of lemon in it. It's my if-then plan. If I want to drink, I'll order a San Pellegrino. Or,
Yes,
if someone says just have one with us, then what am I going to say? What's my response? And the more you rehearse that, the easier it is to engage and not deviate from the plan. I love that approach that you have.
exactly. Oh my
Yeah.
God, this was so powerful. Thank you so much. Well, one, how can people find you? And if you want to talk a little bit more about kind of, because I know that it sounds like there's maybe a exciting direction that you're headed in. So if
Uh,
there's anything you want to share there, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I could talk to you all day. I love what you're bringing to the table, and I really hope that what I've contributed is beneficial in addition to the stuff you're already
So
talking to
much.
the audience about. Um, yeah, so you can find me. My website is manifestwellness.co. And what I'll do is I'll provide you. I've got a PDF, just a 2-page PDF with my favorite 10 wellness habits that are all really brief wellness habits that you can start the day with. Whoops, Cooper, shh, shh, golden retrievers. You can start your day with. And here, what's shh, shh, shh. Here, with this, what you can
You're
so
totally fine.
My
I can't
wife
even
and
hear.
daughter will get me mad. Um, what I'll provide is I'll drop that link. It's a free link, but it's 10 wellness habits you can start engaging with right now. And I found these to be really impactful day to day. And I also do free wellness consultations. So if people are sitting here thinking, okay, part of my journey with reducing my drinking, reducing my consumption, I really want to take that and leverage that for trying to find more wellness, but I don't know where to start, or I don't have the time. I love to work with people to try to help them figure out what's going to work in your life, what's going to fit for you. And I do free consults, and I'll also drop that link into for you to put into the podcast description as well. I just love helping people. I love talking about this, and so it'd be my pleasure to hear from any of your listeners and to work with them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I'll make sure include that in the show notes and everything. So thank you so much. I so appreciate your time and so excited for all that you're doing and for making neuroscience actually digestible for people who don't understand all the big sciencey stuff like me. So yeah,
My pleasure. It's so good talking to you, Erica.
you too, Jamie. Thank you so much. All right. Perfect. Pause the recordings. We're good there. Thank you. I so appreciate this. This is
Yeah.
wonderful. You are like such a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, and sorry for the disruptions. I hope it's not hugely.
No, the as you saw, my long guys came. They used to not come until after 4, so I'm like, oh, perfect timing. And of course, they're like 3:25.
Yeah, right. Naturally, on yeah, any day that you've got something, that's what they're doing. But yeah, no, it was a pleasure, and I hope that the content fits in well with kind of your podcast and what your listeners are going to
Yeah,
look for.
this is
Yeah,
beautiful. I thought it was even better than I could have hoped because I was not expecting us to be able to tie so much to alcohol as well. So yeah,
yeah,
it's awesome.
this is a pleasure, and it's great getting to know you.
Yeah, you too.
Yes, let's certainly keep in touch. I mean, obviously we've got each other's numbers, things like that.
Yeah,
I'll send you the links that you can drop in the show
perfect.
notes. And then do you have thoughts in terms of I would love whatever you're willing to provide in terms of raw footage, clips, links to social that I could also promote as you get ready to publish this would be
Totally.
fantastic because I'll put that up on my social and I can tag you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. If you want, I can just share the recording. I know the AI thing dropped off a little bit. So I can just share this recording and then you can obviously use whatever you want. I will, for Instagram, just add you as a collaborator if you want. So then you don't have to worry about it. Besides that, I typically send the links like, here's the podcast links. I try to do everything kind of in a blog, so it's all kind of in one place that goes to like the YouTube, Podbean, which hosts everything, and then Spotify and Apple specifically. So yeah, and then I'll have your PDF or if it goes to a landing page or anything, whatever you want there. So yeah, if you could just send me that, I guess by tomorrow sometime, that would be great because I try to get these up posted like 6 a.m. Thursday is kind of when I try to do my
Oh,
posts. So
absolutely. I'll get those to you this afternoon, and I look forward to staying in touch. You do a wonderful job. The way you ask questions, and you're so inviting with the conversation. So it's been a pleasure, Erica.
yay, thank you. And yeah, when you get back in town, we should get together. So
100%. Yeah, I'll be in touch. We're back beginning of August. So let's plan for sometime in August, get in touch and just chat more about how things are going.
awesome. Well, have a great trip. Thank you again so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it was great seeing you. Bye-bye.
Bye.